Welcome to the Security Brief for Week 43. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and share this news. To our first story, the Internet Archive was breached again. This time, the world's digital library of everything got hit through its Zendesk support, all thanks to a lost GitLab token that's been floating around the internet like a forgotten sock under the couch. According to Bleeping Computer, folks were finding emails from a threat actor who seemed to be having a field day with their emails. The hacker gleefully pointed out that they now had access to over 800,000 support tickets, thanks to a Zendesk token with more power than anyone probably intended. Some people who wanted things deleted from the Wayback Machine even had to upload their IDs. Some hacker might now have photos of people clutching expired driver's licenses next to their requests. So to sum up, if you ever emailed the Internet Archive, asked for something to be removed, or maybe just reached out to say, "Hey, thanks for preserving the internet, congrats," you're now part of an exclusive club in the dark web underworld where your old emails and possibly your ID are trading hands like Pokemon cards. Moving on. The Bumblebee malware loader has been spotted in new attacks recently, more than 4 months after Europol disrupted it during Operation Endgame in May. Bumblebee first appeared in 2022, replacing the bizarre loader backdoor and giving ransomware groups VIP access to victim networks. It usually infects people through phishing emails, malicious ads, or SEO tricks pushing updates for software like Zoom, Cisco AnyConnect, and even ChatGPT. In the latest Bumblebee shenanigans, Netscope researchers found it up to its usual tricks, using a classic phishing scheme that lures you in with a tempting download link. Victims get a shiny zip file with a report-41952.link shortcut inside. How official sounding. But when clicked, it's not a report at all. Instead, it launches PowerShell to download a nasty MSI file pretending to be an NVIDIA or Midjourney installer. This file sneaks onto your system without any pop-ups or warnings, ensuring Bumblebee gets cozy in your memory without so much as a flicker on your screen. And it's slick. Instead of making new processes, which can be noisy and detectable, Bumblebee piggybacks on a legit installer program, loading up like an unwelcome house guest in its memory. It uses the self-reg table to launch its payload, just like it did in previous versions. For extra flair, Bumblebee's latest signature move is a decryption key labeled new_black, and the campaign IDs MSI and ELENC001. Think of it as Bumblebee's way of saying, "I'm back and better than ever." For now, Netscope hasn't shared the full list of payloads Bumblebee is dropping this time around or the scale of its campaign. But one thing's certain, this comeback is a warning for those who thought they'd seen the last of Bumblebee. Like a villain in a horror movie, it's back in action, silently making its way through inboxes and downloads, just waiting for someone to open the wrong file. The indicators of compromise? Right there on GitHub, so check it out, or brace yourself for the next buzz. Moving on, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has charged 4 companies, Unisys Corp., Avaya Holdings, Checkpoint Software, and Mimecast, for allegedly misleading investors about the impact of their breaches during the massive 2020 SolarWinds Orion hack. These companies knew about the breach and still told investors, cyber risks? Maybe hypothetically. The SEC, not amused, has now charged each of them for what amounts to ghosting investors about the actual risk level. Let's go back memory lane. In 2019, Russian state-sponsored hackers from APT29 snuck into SolarWinds, which provided network monitoring tools to a who's who of global companies and government agencies. By infecting SolarWinds' Orion platform with Trojanized updates, they effectively turned trusted software into a high-tech Trojan horse, slipping malware, the notorious Sunburst backdoor, onto 18,000 unsuspecting systems. Of course, the SolarWinds breach didn't just knock on tech company doors. Major agencies like Microsoft, FireEye, and heavy hitters in the U.S. government, the Department of State, Department of Energy, and the NNSA, yes, the nuclear folks, also found their data among the casualties. The penalty breakdown: Unisys pays the top fine with a $4 million hit, while Avaya gets a $1 million charge. Checkpoint and Mimecast trail closely with $995,000 and $990,000 fines, respectively, each surely hoping that a few thousand less on the tab will make the sting feel lighter. The SEC's not taking any of it lightly. In an era where security risks are daily realities, companies can't just shrug off breaches or treat them like abstract what-ifs. Investors have to know when there's fire, not just the smoke, especially when the fire is being fanned by a foreign intelligence service. Moving on in tech news, on the first day of Pwn2Own Ireland, which is a hacking contest where participant gets tasked to attack. On the first day, participants demonstrated 52 zero-day vulnerabilities across a range of devices, earning a total of $486,250 in cash prizes. Viatel Cybersecurity took an early lead, getting 13 points in their chase for the Master of Pwn2Own title. The team's FudiQ and NAMNP exploited a Lorex 2K Wi-Fi camera through a stack-based buffer overflow vulnerability and got $30,000 and 3 points. Sina Kirka from Summoning Team stole the show with a chain of 9 vulnerabilities to go from QNAP Quora 322 router to TrueNAS Mini X device, which brought a $100,000 payout and 10 Master of Pwn2Own points. On day 2 of Pwn2Own Ireland 2024 was another whirlwind of 0 days and cash prizes, with hackers unveiling a jaw-dropping 51 fresh vulnerabilities and earning a total of $358,625. The White Hat Showdown continued as security researchers tackled an array of software and hardware in pursuit of the Master of Pwn2Own title and their share of the $1 million prize pool. As of day 2's close, hackers have uncovered a total of 103 zero-day vulnerabilities across 2 days, walking away with $847,875 in prizes. With 2 days left, the race for Master of Pwn2Own is heating up as researchers aim to climb higher in the rankings and bag the remaining cash. Moving on, FortiManager system that's been exploited in zero-day attacks. The vulnerability, tracked as CVE 2024-47575, lets hackers dip into files containing sensitive configuration details, IP addresses, and device credentials of managed networks, a jackpot for cyber crooks. Despite this high-stakes scenario, some Fortinet customers only learned about it when chatter hit Reddit and Mastodon, as cybersecurity expert Kevin Beaumont dubbed the flaw FortiJump. You see, Fortinet quietly started notifying certain customers on October 13th with mitigation steps, but word spread faster than their emails. Some customers were quick to point out that they'd already been breached before these notifications even arrived. One now-deleted Reddit post captured the frustration with a comment along the lines of, "We got breached on this 1 week before we got advanced notifications. 0 day, I guess." The FortiJump flaw in question allows attackers to execute unauthorized commands on FortiManager servers, essentially giving them the keys to the castle. Hackers use a compromised Fortinet certificate to set up a secure tunnel, allowing them to wiggle into FortiManager and bypass an authentication step to run their commands. Hackers have already exploited the flaw to swipe files from FortiManager servers, specifically targeting data like IP addresses and credentials, to pursue further infiltration of corporate networks or managed service provider (MSP) clients. Interestingly, no malware installations or system changes were reported. Hackers are mainly on a data collection spree. Given FortiManager's design, this flaw offers access to multiple downstream networks once a FortiManager instance is compromised, making it a prime target for malicious actors. Some customers voiced frustrations on social media about Fortinet's selective communication. Fortinet's response has been that they follow responsible disclosure, sharing information with customers before public release. The situation raises questions about transparency and cybersecurity, with some pointing to a Fortinet statement from October 2023, ironically encouraging transparency to collectively strengthen defenses. On to our next news story. Insurance admin company Landmark Admin just spilled the beans on a data breach that could impact over 800,000 people, following a cyber attack back in May. For those unfamiliar, Landmark is a backstage player for big insurance carriers, handling back-office work like processing new policies and claims for clients like Liberty Bankers Life, Capital Life Insurance, and a few others. Now, thanks to this attack, personal data from hundreds of thousands of people is potentially up for grabs. Landmark noticed suspicious activity on May 13th and promptly pulled the plug on IT systems and remote access to keep the mess from spreading. They hired a cybersecurity team to dive into the details, and lo and behold, the hackers didn't just knock on the door, they went straight to the filing cabinet. In their statement to the Maine Attorney General's office, Landmark tried to give affected individuals a heads up about what was possibly lifted, which varies by person. As of now, there's no word on who might be behind the attack, and no hacker groups have taken responsibility. Moving on, over a year after being hit by not one but two cyber attacks from the Black Cat ransomware gang, healthcare giant Schein has finally disclosed that the personal information of over 160,000 individuals was stolen. Schein is a Fortune 500 healthcare solutions provider with operations across 32 countries and a cool $12 billion in revenue in 2022. The trouble started back in October 2023 when Schein had to pull the plug on some systems to contain a cyber attack that interfered with their manufacturing and distribution. Black Cat, also known as PHV, claimed credit, boasting they had snatched a staggering 35 terabytes of sensitive data. Just a month later, on November 22nd, Schein was hit again by the same group. Flash forward to this month, and Schein finally issued an official data breach notification to the Maine Attorney General, revealing the impact. 166,432 people had their data stolen. The exposed information varies for each person, but the notification hinted that sensitive data could include financial records, medical details, and other personal identifiers depending on what each individual had previously shared with the company. For specifics on what data was taken, Schein has kept tight-lipped, with no response yet to Bleeping Computer's request for details. Moving on, over 100 million people had their healthcare and personal data stolen in a colossal ransomware attack on its subsidiary, Change Healthcare. This breach, now officially the largest healthcare data leak in recent memory, unfolded back in February, but has only now had its full scale disclosed, revealing the staggering impact on patient information across the U.S. UnitedHealth CEO Andrew Whitty hinted at the massive breach back in May, warning Congress that about a third of Americans' health data might have been exposed. The breach traces back to a February 2024 ransomware attack orchestrated by the notorious Black Cat aka PHV ransomware group. After gaining access through Change Healthcare's Citrix remote access system, which crucially lacked multi-factor authentication, Black Cat made itself at home, stealing 6 terabytes of data and later encrypting systems. It didn't end there. The spurned Black Cat affiliate, still holding on to the stolen data, jumped ship to a new operation called Ransom Hub. They started leaking Change Healthcare's data and demanded a second ransom to keep the rest private. This breach highlights just how fragile and costly healthcare data security can be, especially when ransomware groups like Black Cat are involved. For now, UnitedHealth and Change Healthcare customers are left hoping that, despite multiple ransom payments, their data isn't still making rounds on the dark web. Moving on, in a surprising move, Russia has handed down prison sentences to 4 members of the infamous REvil ransomware gang, marking a significant development in the ongoing saga of global cybercrime crackdowns. REvil, also known as Sodinokibi, rose to prominence in 2019 as the successor to the GandCrab operation, quickly earning its reputation as one of the most aggressive and lucrative ransomware groups in history. Their business model was simple yet effective: breach companies, encrypt sensitive data, and demand sky-high ransoms. At their peak, REvil raked in over $100 million annually, but their reign came crashing down after the Kaseya attack sparked international outrage and diplomatic tensions. Following pressure from the US, REvil tried to lay low, even taking a brief hiatus. Little did they know, however, that US law enforcement had already infiltrated their infrastructure with the help of international partners. The sentences highlight a shift in Russia's stance on cybercriminals within its borders, especially those targeting international victims. Whether this cooperation continues remains to be seen, but the dismantling of REvil is a landmark moment in the push for international cooperation on cybercrime. That's it for this week's news. Which story did you find most interesting, or any story that you wish was included? Make sure you comment under. Make sure to subscribe, and I see you soon.